Zara Voss pressed her palm against the cold viewport of Station Epsilon 7, watching the endless dance of stars beyond. 3 years she'd been stationed on this remote outpost at the edge of human space, 3 years of monitoring communications traffic and filing reports that nobody read. The loneliness had become a constant companion, as familiar as the hum of the station's life support systems. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she sipped it anyway, the bitter taste matching her mood. At 28, she felt ancient, her auburn hair already showing premature streaks of silver from the stress of isolation. The communication array before her displayed the usual chatter, cargo manifests, weather reports from distant colonies, the occasional personal message bouncing between star systems. Then something changed. A signal cut through the static, faint but unmistakably different. Zara's heart quickened as she isolated the frequency, her trained ears picking up patterns that didn't match any known human transmission protocol. The voice that emerged from the speakers made her blood run cold. "Please, anyone, our world dies, children trapped, please." The words came in broken English, spoken with an accent unlike anything she'd ever heard. The speaker's voice was melodic, almost musical, but filled with desperate urgency. Zara's hands flew across her console, triangulating the signal's origin. Her breath caught when the coordinates appeared on her screen. The transmission was coming from the void sector, a region of space marked as uninhabitable and unexplored. "This is Communications Specialist Zara Voss of Station Epsilon 7, she broadcast back, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm receiving your transmission. What is your location? What kind of assistance do you need?" Silence stretched for long minutes. Zara began to wonder if she'd imagined the whole thing when the voice returned, clearer now, as if the speaker had moved closer to their transmitter. You answered," the voice said, and Zara could hear tears in those alien tones. "I am Naya of the Stellaris clan. Our star, it dies too quickly. The evacuation ships, they cannot reach us all. Many will be left behind." Zara's mind raced. First contact with an alien species, this was the moment that would change everything. But the protocols demanded she report to her superiors immediately, and she knew what would happen. Military ships would be dispatched, scientists would take over, and this frightened being would become just another specimen to be studied. "Naya," she said softly, using the alien's name with careful pronunciation. "How many of you are there? How long do you have?" 43 remain in the southern continent's shelters, Naya replied. "The star's radiation, it grows stronger each day. Our shields fail. Perhaps 6 days, maybe 7 before." Her voice trailed off, but Zara understood. 6 days before they all died. "I'm going to help you," Zara said, surprising herself with the firmness in her voice. "I need to make some calls, find someone with a ship fast enough to reach you. Can you keep transmitting on this frequency?" "Yes, but why would you help us? You don't know us." Zara looked out at the stars again, thinking of all the nights she'd felt utterly alone in the cosmos. "Because no one should die alone out there. And because..." She paused, trying to find the right words. "Because your voice sounds like hope, and I haven't heard that in a very long time." Over the next several hours, Zara worked frantically. She couldn't go through official channels, the bureaucracy would take weeks, and Naya's people would be dead long before any help arrived. Instead, she began reaching out through unofficial networks, contacting smugglers, independent traders, anyone with a fast ship and flexible morals. Most laughed at her or hung up immediately. The few who listened wanted payment she couldn't afford. Desperation clawed at her chest as precious hours slipped away. Then, just as she was about to give up, a gruff voice answered her transmission. "This is Captain Marcus Reed of the Starship Phoenix. I hear you're looking for someone crazy enough to fly into the void sector." "Captain Reed," Zara said, her voice cracking with relief. "I have 43 beings who will die if someone doesn't reach them in the next 5 days. The coordinates are in the void sector, but I can't pay much. Maybe 1,000 credits and..." "Lady," Marcus interrupted, I don't need your money. Send me the coordinates. If there are people dying out there, that's reason enough. As Zara transmitted the location data, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years, hope mixed with fear, the intoxicating combination of taking a leap into the unknown. She was violating every protocol, potentially compromising first contact procedures, and risking her career. But when Naya's voice came through the speakers again, soft and grateful, Zara knew she'd made the right choice. The ship will come, she told the alien woman. Captain Reed is already on his way to you. Thank you, Naya whispered. You have given us something precious, the chance to see another sunrise. Zara smiled, her reflection ghost-like in the viewport. No, Naya. You gave me something precious too. You reminded me why I became a communications officer in the first place, to connect with others across the vast loneliness of space. As the Phoenix departed human space, carrying hope toward the dying star, Zara settled in for the longest wait of her life. She didn't know that this moment would change not just her destiny, but the fate of two entire species. Captain Marcus Reed had seen enough death in his 42 years to last several lifetimes. The scar running from his left temple to his jaw served as a constant reminder of the mining accident that had killed his crew and ended his corporate piloting career 5 years ago. Since then, he'd made his living on the fringes of space, taking jobs that legitimate captains wouldn't touch. But this was different. As the Phoenix cut through the void toward the dying star system, Marcus found himself thinking about the desperation in the communications officer's voice. Zara Voss, he'd looked up her service record during the journey. Decorated specialist, clean record, 3 years of exemplary service on a remote station where most people lasted 6 months before requesting transfer. Phoenix to Station Epsilon 7, he transmitted as his ship approached the coordinates. I'm 12 hours out from the target system. Any updates from our alien friends? Zara's voice crackled through the comm, tense with worry. Captain, Naya's last transmission was 6 hours ago. Their shields are failing faster than expected. The radiation levels are climbing. Marcus studied the sensor readings as his ship entered the outer edge of the system. The star was indeed dying, but not in the slow fade typical of stellar death. Something had destabilized it, causing it to expand rapidly while pouring out lethal radiation. Any planets in the inner system would be uninhabitable within days. I see 3 planets, Marcus reported. Which one are they on? The third planet, southern continent. Marcus. Zara's voice softened, and he found himself listening more intently. Be careful. We don't know what kind of defenses they might have, or if there are other ships in the area. Understood. I'll maintain radio silence until I have them aboard. As the Phoenix approached the third planet, Marcus was struck by its beauty. Swirling clouds of silver and gold wrapped around a world of deep blue oceans and emerald continents. It should have been a paradise, but the dying star's radiation was already beginning to strip away the atmosphere in visible streamers. His sensors detected the settlement immediately, a cluster of crystalline structures that seemed to grow from the planet's surface like living things. But they were failing, their protective barriers flickering weakly against the increasing radiation. Marcus brought the Phoenix down in a clearing near the largest structure, his ship's shield straining against the hostile environment. Through the viewport, he saw them emerging from their shelters, tall, graceful beings with luminescent skin that shifted between pale blue and silver. Their movements were fluid, almost dance-like, and even in their obvious distress, they possessed an ethereal beauty that took his breath away. The first to approach his ship was clearly their leader. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, with long limbs and features that were delicately alien yet somehow familiar. Her hair flowed like liquid starlight, and her large eyes held depths that seemed to contain entire galaxies. This had to be Naya. Marcus activated his ship's external communicator. I'm Captain Marcus Reed. Zara Voss sent me to help you. Naya stepped closer, and when she spoke, her voice carried that same musical quality he'd heard in the transmissions. Captain Reed, I am Naya Stellaris. We are grateful beyond words, but, your ship, it is not large enough for all of us. Marcus had already done the calculations. His ship could carry maybe 20 beings safely, and that would be pushing life support to its limits. How many children do you have? 17, Naya replied without hesitation. Then we take the children and as many adults as we can fit. The rest. Marcus paused, hating what he was about to say. The rest will have to wait for another ship. No. Naya's voice was firm. We do not abandon our people. If all cannot go, then none will go. Marcus stared at her through the viewport, seeing the resolve in her alien features. In that moment, something shifted inside him. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore, it was something deeper, more personal. The way she stood there, willing to die rather than leave anyone behind, reminded him of everything he'd once believed in before cynicism had taken root in his heart. Then we make room, he said finally. I can strip out non-essential systems, convert the cargo bay. It won't be comfortable, and life support will be stretched thin, but we can do it. For the next 4 hours, Marcus worked alongside Naya and her people, modifying his ship. Despite the language barrier and the urgency of their situation, he found himself drawn to her. She moved with purpose and grace, directing the evacuation while personally ensuring that the elderly and injured were given priority. During a brief rest, as his ship's systems recycled the air, Marcus found himself alone with Naya in the Phoenix's small medical bay. She was treating a young one who had been burned by radiation exposure, her hands glowing with a soft, healing light. You have medical abilities, Marcus observed. All of my people are healers to some degree, Naya replied, not looking up from her patient. It is how we survived on a world where the very air could kill. We learned to mend what was broken. What happened to your star? Marcus asked. Stars don't just die overnight. Naya's hands stilled for a moment. We made a mistake. Our ancestors tried to harvest energy directly from the stellar core. They thought they could control it, use it to power our civilization for millennia. Instead, they destabilized the fusion reaction. We have been living with the consequences ever since. Marcus watched as she resumed her healing work, her touch gentle and sure. And yet you stayed. You could have left your world generations ago. This was our home, Naya said simply. Where would we go? We know nothing of other worlds, other peoples. Until today, we thought we were alone in the universe. You're not alone anymore, Marcus said, surprising himself with the intensity in his voice. Naya looked up at him then, her large eyes meeting his. For a moment, the dying world outside seemed to fade away, and there was only the two of them in the small space, two beings from different worlds finding an unexpected connection in the face of disaster. The moment was broken by an alarm from the ship's sensors. Captain, came Zara's voice over the comm, I'm reading massive solar flare activity. You need to get out of there now. Marcus rushed to the cockpit, Naya close behind him. The star was convulsing, sending waves of deadly radiation toward the planet. They had perhaps an hour before the next wave hit, not enough time to finish the modifications. How many are aboard? Marcus asked. 38, Naya replied. 5 are still helping to load supplies. Marcus made the hardest decision of his life. We go now, or we all die. As the Phoenix lifted off with its overcrowded cargo of refugees, Marcus found himself stealing glances at Naya, who stood beside him in the cockpit, watching her world disappear behind them. Tears like liquid diamonds traced down her cheeks, but she stood tall and proud. I'm sorry, Marcus said quietly. I'm sorry we couldn't save them all. Naya placed a hand on his shoulder, and he felt warmth spread through him at her touch. You saved more than you know, Marcus Reed. You saved hope itself. As they jumped to hyperspace, leaving the dying star behind, Marcus realized that something fundamental had changed inside him. For the first time in years, he felt like he was part of something larger than himself. And it all centered around the extraordinary being standing beside him, her presence filling the emptiness he'd carried for so long. The rescue was complete, but Marcus suspected that his real journey was just beginning. Naya Stellaris had never seen a star that didn't burn with the fury of dying. The gentle yellow sun that warmed New Haven Colony seemed impossibly stable, impossibly peaceful. From her quarters in the temporary refugee center, she watched human children play in gardens that would have been impossible on her homeworld, their laughter carrying on air that didn't taste of radiation and fear. 3 weeks had passed since the Phoenix had brought her people to this sanctuary. 3 weeks of wonder, confusion, and a growing ache in her chest that she couldn't quite name. The humans had been kind beyond measure, providing shelter, food, and medical care without asking for anything in return. Yet Naya felt more lost than ever. She pressed her palm against the window, her luminescent skin dimming with melancholy. On Stellaris Prime, she had been a healer and a leader, someone her people looked to for guidance. Here, she was simply another refugee, dependent on the charity of strangers who spoke in sounds her throat could barely produce. A soft chime announced a visitor. Naya turned to see Marcus Reed standing in her doorway, his scarred face wearing that gentle expression she had come to recognize. Her heart performed that strange flutter it had been doing whenever he appeared, a sensation entirely foreign to her species. "I brought you something," Marcus said, holding out a small device. "It's a universal translator. It should help with the language barrier." Naya accepted the device, her fingers brushing against his. The brief contact sent warmth spiraling through her, and she saw something flicker in his dark eyes, the same confusion and longing she felt. "Thank you," she said, her voice still carrying its musical quality even through the translator's mechanical interpretation. "How are your people adapting?" Marcus asked, settling into the chair across from her. He had taken to visiting her daily, ostensibly to check on the refugees' welfare, but Naya suspected there were deeper reasons. "They struggle," Naya admitted. "We are used to living in harmony with our environment, drawing energy from the living world around us. Here, everything is artificial, manufactured. We feel disconnected." Marcus leaned forward, concern etched on his features. "Is there anything we can do? Any way to make this easier?" Naya studied his face, noting the genuine care in his expression. This was not the cold, calculating being she had expected from the stories her people told of other worlds. This was someone who had risked everything to save strangers, who continued to worry about their comfort even when his duty was done. "May I ask you something?" Naya said. "Why did you come for us? Your people gain nothing from saving mine." Marcus was quiet for a long moment, his gaze distant. "I lost my crew in an accident 5 years ago," he said finally. 7 good people died because I made a mistake. I couldn't save them, but I could save you. And now?" Naya asked softly. Marcus met her eyes, and Naya felt her breath catch at the intensity she saw there. "Now I'm wondering if maybe I didn't just save you. Maybe you saved me too." Before Naya could respond, the door chimed again. A young human woman entered, Dr. Victoria Chen, the xenobiologist who had been studying her people's unique physiology. Behind her came a familiar figure that made Naya's heart leap. "Naya," Zara Voss said, her voice warm with genuine affection. "I finally got clearance to visit." Naya rose gracefully, moving to embrace the woman who had made their rescue possible. "Zara. I have wanted to thank you properly." "No thanks needed," Zara said, though her eyes sparkled with emotion. "How are you holding up?" "Better now that you're here," Naya replied, and meant it. She had felt a kinship with Zara from their first communication, a sense of understanding that transcended species. "I hate to interrupt," Victoria said, "but I have some news that might interest you all. The Council has approved my proposal for a joint research station. Naya, your people's healing abilities could revolutionize medicine, and in return, we can offer you a permanent home." Naya felt her heart sink. "You wish to study us?" "I wish to learn from you," Victoria corrected gently. "There's a difference. This would be a partnership, not an examination." Naya looked between the 3 humans, seeing hope and eagerness in their faces. They meant well, she knew, but they didn't understand what they were asking. Her people were not laboratory subjects or curiosities to be catalogued. I need to think, Naya said carefully. That evening, Naya walked alone through the colony's botanical gardens, seeking solace among the growing things. Here, at least, she could feel some connection to the living world. She had been sitting beside a fountain when she heard familiar footsteps behind her. You're troubled, Marcus said, settling beside her on the stone bench. Your people see us as problems to be solved, Naya said. They want to study our healing abilities, find ways to replicate them. They speak of partnership, but I hear only the hunger for knowledge. Marcus was quiet for a moment, watching the water dance in the fountain. Not all of us, he said finally. No. Some of us just see someone extraordinary who makes us want to be better than we are. Naya turned to look at him, her luminescent skin brightening with surprise. Marcus. I know it's impossible, he said quickly. You're not human, I'm not, whatever your people are called. But I can't stop thinking about you. About the way you stood up to save your people, the way you've adapted to this strange new world. The way you make me feel like I might actually deserve a second chance. Naya's breath caught. Among her people, such feelings were rare, sacred things. Love was not the passionate fire described in human literature, but a gentle joining of souls that transcended physical form. Yet what she felt for Marcus burned with an intensity that frightened her. My people have a saying, she said softly. The heart knows no boundaries save those we create ourselves. Marcus reached out tentatively, his human fingers intertwining with her alien ones. Then maybe we don't create any boundaries. As they sat together in the garden, Naya felt something she hadn't experienced since leaving her homeworld, a sense of belonging. Not to a place or a people, but to a moment, a connection that transcended the vast differences between their species. I will accept Victoria's proposal, she said suddenly. Marcus looked surprised. I thought you were against it. I was. But I understand now that my people need more than just survival. We need purpose, hope for the future. And she squeezed his hand gently, I find myself wanting to build that future here, with you. Marcus smiled, the expression transforming his scarred features. You know there will be challenges. People who won't understand, who'll say it's wrong. Then we'll face them together, Naya said, her voice filled with quiet determination. After all, love is the one force in the universe that grows stronger when shared. As the alien sun set over New Haven Colony, Naya Stellaris made her choice. She would stay, not as a refugee or a subject of study, but as someone ready to build a bridge between worlds. And perhaps, in the process, she would discover that the greatest healing of all was the mending of two lonely hearts finding their way to each other across the stars. The future stretched before them, uncertain but full of possibility. And for the first time since her world had died, Naya felt truly alive. Dr. James Hawthorne had spent 15 years studying alien biology, but he had never expected to become a marriage counselor for the galaxy's first interspecies couple. From his office overlooking the New Haven Research Complex, he watched Marcus and Naya walk hand in hand through the courtyard below, their body language speaking of a bond that transcended the obvious differences between them. James rubbed his tired eyes and returned to the data flowing across his screens. 6 months had passed since Naya's people had agreed to the joint research partnership, and the results were extraordinary. Their healing abilities operated on principles that challenged everything humanity thought it knew about biology and physics. But it was the relationship blooming between Marcus and Naya that truly fascinated him. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he called, not looking up from his work. James, we need to talk. He turned to find Naya standing in his doorway, her luminescent skin dimmed with worry. Over the months, James had learned to read the subtle changes in her alien features, and right now, she looked deeply troubled. Of course, James said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. What's on your mind? Naya settled gracefully into the seat, her movement still carrying that otherworldly elegance that never failed to remind James of just how different she was from any being he'd ever encountered. "It's about Marcus and me," she said quietly. "The council is pressuring us to formalize our relationship." James leaned back in his chair, not entirely surprised. The political implications of the first human-alien romance hadn't been lost on anyone. "And how do you feel about that?" Terrified, Naya admitted, her honesty catching James off guard. "My people mate for life, James. When we bond, it's not just emotional or physical, it's a joining of our very essence. I could share my life force with Marcus, extend his lifespan, heal his injuries. But, James prompted gently. But I don't know if a human can survive such a bond. Your species processes energy differently than mine. What if trying to share my life with him ends up killing him instead?" James felt his heart clench at the pain in her voice. Over the months of working together, he had developed a deep respect for Naya, and something more complex that he tried not to examine too closely. "Have you talked to Marcus about this?" "How can I?" Naya's skin flickered with distress. "He's already given up so much for me. His old life, his freedom to roam the stars. Now the government wants him to become an ambassador, a symbol of human-alien cooperation. If I tell him that loving me might kill him, he'd probably say it was worth the risk," James finished quietly. Naya looked up at him, her large eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Yes. And that's what frightens me most." James stood and moved to the window, watching as Marcus appeared in the courtyard below, clearly looking for Naya. The man's face lit up when he spotted her through the office window, and he waved with the enthusiasm of someone still amazed by love. "Naya," James said carefully, "what if I told you there might be a way to make it work? A way to create a bond that would be safe for both of you?" Her skin brightened with hope. "Is that possible?" "I've been studying your people's bonding process," James admitted. "The energy exchange, the neurochemical changes. I think with the right preparation, the right safeguards." He turned back to her. "But it would require something unprecedented. A human would need to undergo genetic modification to become compatible with your species' biology." Naya stood abruptly. "No. I won't ask Marcus to change what he is for me. What if he volunteers?" "James, The office door opened, and Marcus himself walked in, his face flushed from running. "Sorry to interrupt, but I saw Naya come in here looking upset." His eyes immediately went to her, concern evident in every line of his body. "What's wrong?" James looked between them, seeing the way they instinctively moved toward each other, the way their breathing synchronized without conscious thought. They were already bonding, he realized, just not in the way Naya's species typically experienced it. "Marcus," James said slowly, "how far would you go for love?" Marcus's scarred face settled into serious lines. "What are you asking?" "The council wants you and Naya to formalize your relationship, to become a symbol of interspecies cooperation. But there are risks involved, biological incompatibilities that could be dangerous." Marcus looked at Naya, taking in her distressed state, and James saw understanding dawn in his eyes. "You're talking about your people's bonding process." Naya nodded miserably. "It could kill you, Marcus. The energy transfer, the biological changes, human physiology wasn't designed for it." Marcus was quiet for a long moment, then he surprised them both by laughing. "Naya, love, I was dead inside for 5 years before I met you. If loving you kills me, at least I'll die alive." "This isn't a joke," Naya said, her skin flashing with agitation. "You're right," Marcus said, becoming serious again. He moved to her, taking her hands in his. "It's not a joke. It's the most important decision I'll ever make. And I've already made it. Whatever it takes to be with you, really be with you, I'll do it." James cleared his throat. "There might be another option. I've been developing a treatment that could modify human cellular structure to be compatible with Stellaris physiology. It's theoretical, but... But? Marcus asked. But you'd be the first test subject. You'd be risking not just your life, but your humanity itself. The changes would be permanent, irreversible. Marcus didn't hesitate. When do we start? Marcus, no, Naya said, her voice breaking. I won't let you sacrifice everything for me. Everything? Marcus cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing away a tear that gleamed like liquid starlight. Naya, you are everything. My career, my old life, my species, none of that matters compared to being able to love you completely. James watched them, feeling an ache in his chest that he recognized as loneliness. He had dedicated his life to science, to understanding, but he had never felt anything approaching what these two shared. Their love was transforming them both, making them braver and stronger than either could be alone. The treatment would take months, James said quietly. And there would be no guarantee of success. Then we'll take it one day at a time, Marcus said, never taking his eyes off Naya. We'll face whatever comes together. Naya's skin began to glow with the soft light that indicated deep emotion among her people. You would truly do this? Change yourself so completely? I wouldn't be changing myself, Marcus said. I'd be becoming who I was always meant to be, the man who gets to love you without limits. James turned away, giving them privacy as they embraced, their love so tangible it seemed to fill the room with warmth. He began pulling up his research files, his mind already working through the complex procedures that would be required. As he worked, he could hear them talking quietly, planning a future that would have been impossible just months ago. They spoke of children who would bridge two worlds, of a love that would prove to the galaxy that differences didn't have to divide. James, Naya said softly, and he looked up to find them both watching him. Thank you. For believing in us, for making this possible. Don't thank me yet, James said with a smile. Thank me when you're celebrating your first anniversary. As they left his office together, James remained at his desk, staring at the genetic sequences that would either create a miracle or destroy everything. But as he watched Marcus and Naya disappear into the distance, their love visible in every step they took together, he felt a certainty settle in his chest. Love this strong would find a way. It always did. And perhaps, in helping them achieve their impossible dream, he might finally understand what it meant to put something greater than himself first. The work ahead would be the most challenging of his career, but also the most important. After all, he wasn't just trying to modify human genetics, he was trying to prove that love could indeed conquer all.